Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In this video, me and my friends are going to talk about dialogue that affect the communication for our final test. But before that, I will introduce myself first. My name is Ayu Sekar Rini. My student ID numbers is 181061, and my job is to explain briefly the definition of dialogue, characterization of dialogue, and how dialogue could affect our communication. Later, my friends will also introduce herself and explain about the types of dialogue itself. So without further ado, now let's jump to the topic. The first one, the definition of dialogue. A dialogue is the language used by certain people of a specific area, class, district, or any other groups of people. The term dialogue involves the spelling, sounds, grammar, and pronunciation used by a particular group of people, and it distinguishes them from other people around them. Dialogue are usually formed around particular regions. However, they might also be used with a certain group of people. I hope that the definition of dialogue is pretty clear. Next, we're going to talk about the characterization of dialogue itself. I believe there are 6 characterization of dialogue that could help you to identify whether this kind of thing is dialogue or accent. The first characterization of dialogue is that shows variation in grammar. Second, shows variation in vocabulary, and thirdly, shows variation in usage patterns. Fourthly, likely will not a specific to a state or nation of its own. And fifth, likely specific to a region. Last but not least, possibly specific to the social class of the speakers. Now let's talk about how dialogue could affect our communication among the people. People who speak the same language but they come from different region could be very hard to understand each other. In some cases, there are no significant difference in their languages, but for some cases, it could be a big challenge for the others to understand their dialect. Sometimes people even get confused with the language because of the others. Sometimes people get confused with the language because of the strong certain dialogue that some people have. This shows you how when people move to other region, they would tend to make a new dialogue and accept by their community. So later, after my friend explained you about the types of dialogue, both of us will show you the illustration of dialogue that happen among Balunas people or Baluna speakers. The example that we will bring today is the dialogue that happen among the Baluna speaker who live in Lombok and Baluna speaker who live in Gianyar.
Hello, my name is Gusti Agung Trisna. My student number is 181055. Okay, I would like to continue the topic is types of dialect. Okay, number 1, region dialect, a subgroup, variety of a language associated with a particular geographical area is called a regional dialect. Number 2, ethnic dialect, a subgroup, variety of a language that is associated with a particular ethnic group is termed an ethnic dialect. Dialects are formed mostly in isolation or in contact with other language, such as Balinese language in Gianyar and Balinese language in Lombok. Dialect can vary by region, class, or ancestry, and they influence the impressions that we make of others. Research so that people tend to think more positively about others who speak with a dialect similar to their own and think more negatively about people who speak differently. People speaking that some language can have difficulty understanding each other if they are from different regions of the same country. In this video, we will bring you two different examples, which is Balinese language in Lombok and Balinese language in Gianyar. There are a lot of different words with the same meaning. Balinese language in Lombok has been influenced by Sasak language itself, so there are some words that is only Balinese who live in Lombok that could understand it. It is also the same as Balinese language in Gianyar. Balinese who live in Lombok don't really don't really understand when Gianyar people speak in their language. Although both of them say that they speak in Balinese language.
The example on how dialogue could affect communication among two people, especially Balinese people who live in Lombok and Balinese people who live in Bali, Gianyar. Balinese people who live in Lombok will say no as ten, and Balinese people who live in Gianyar, Bali will say no as seng. So seng and ten have the same meaning, which is no, but because of Balinese people who already influenced by Sasaknese language, so they have their own dialogue, and the Balinese people who live in Bali Gianyar also have their own dialogue. So sometimes me and Ayu, Anjeli, my friends, have difficulty when we talk to each other because Ayu have their own dialogue. For example, like ten means no, but in Gianyar we say no aseng, or have you eaten, people Balinese people who live in Lombok will say sampun ngajeng, and Balinese people who live in Gianyar will say sube ngajeng. Sube and sampun have the same meaning but different words. That shows you how um, even among Balinese people it's sometimes hard to understand each other because of the variety of dialect itself.
Thank you for watching our video. I hope you enjoy and like our video. Thank you very much.